Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. At 6:01 p.m. and this is the regular Board of Commissioners meeting. City Attorney, will you do the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please?
Merciful Father, as the citizens of the city of Madeira Beach meet together to address our local concerns and opportunities, we give thanks to you for the bounty that we enjoy in all aspects of our community life. We ask for inspiration to strive for excellence in our endeavors to serve the public. Grant us peace in our world and harmony between all people to your greater glory. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Rostack,
Present.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Here.
Commissioner McGinn,
Here.
Commissioner Brooks, here, all are present.
Thank you kindly. First up is any public comment that is not on the agenda. Please step forward. Keep in mind one thing that we've recently posted these signs out here about the Pledge of Civility, that we need to maintain a calm demeanor, and we're all adults and we can talk back and forth and we can work through things. Sir, who are you?
My name is Thomas Wally. I live at 60 137th Avenue Circle, Madeira Beach, Florida, 33708. I'd like to start by saying thank you all for your service. I haven't been to one of these meetings in a long time, and I appreciate the fact that you all do the best that you can for the city of Madeira Beach. And I've lived here as a resident since 1991 and a homeowner since 2007. I've donated a lot of time in the city government, sitting on the Madeira Beach Planning Commission for several years, and chose not to get involved with city government after seeing how the city was previously ran. Someone sent me an email that caught my attention about hiring a new city attorney. And it mentioned that there was only 2 candidates that applied, which I found suspicious. Yesterday, I sent an email to all the commission members and the city manager explaining that the Florida Bar has a city, county, local attorney section that is very active. City attorneys throughout the state belong to it. The section will circulate city attorney jobs advertisements to all of its members by email. Our city could and can reach a much bigger pool of qualified attorneys by using this free tool. The fact that only 2 responded and actually 1 points to a failure of this process. Both bids should be rejected and the city should re-advertise them. Then there should be a public interview by the commission of the final candidates so the public may observe. Last night, I did a little research and found out our city really only has 1 qualified candidate, because unfortunately, Mr. Trask resigned on last October as Tarpon Springs City Attorney. He was accused of unethical conduct, which had to do with billing. He also resigned from Dunedin in 2020 because he settled a lawsuit without having a public meeting. Oh, hold on a second, I just lost my spot. Okay, Mr. Trash resigned last October as Tarpon Springs City Attorney. He was accused of unethical conduct, which had to do with billing. He also resigned from Dunedin in 2020 because he settled a lawsuit without having a public meeting. Trask and Diazonant were also booted from North Reddington, which lost several lawsuits, including a federal case for harassing Sweet Stage. There are also problems in Oldsmar. The biggest red flag is this insubordination that many residents witnessed during the BOC hearing, not answering our mayor's questions. I call for this board to immediately act on the insubordination with disciplinary consequences. I feel that once someone doesn't answer a question, even the people that don't care want to know the answer. And as one of the residents of Madeira Beach, I would like to know how many bar complaints Mr. Trask and his firm have. And I ask you now that question, Mr. Trask. How many bar complaints have you and your firm had? So as I said previously, we only really have one qualified candidate for our city. And if the three other commissioners won't agree to reissue this RFQ, they're doing a great disservice for the citizens of Madeira Beach. All the commissioners should do all they can to find the best city attorney we can afford. Most cities in Pinellas and Pasco get at least 4 applicants. Perhaps we should consider creating an in-house city attorney position and having an attorney in the building 30 hours a week who doesn't charge for extra little services, saving the city lots of money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment? Please come up. Thank you for wanting to speak to us.
You're welcome. First of all, I want to let everybody know that I am not a public speaker, but I've lived here for over 40 years. And every time a new project goes up, all the citizens say, how did this happen? In my heart, I have a feeling the same thing is going to happen to the Johns Pass Activity Center.
Ma'am, give us your name, please.
My name is Nancy Briner. I live on 144th.
Thank you.
The first night that this activity center came up, I believe, I either watched it on TV or was here, and Commissioner Taglerini had a survey. Everybody said the survey wasn't legal, which of course I'm going in his head. I don't know him, but I'm thinking, I never thought he thought it was legal. He just wanted to get the pulse of the community. Obviously, the pulse that he got was different than the 3 commissioners that voted yes last week. So I don't mean to put words in Mr. Taglerini's mouth, but I think that's what he meant with the survey. Didn't you not, Commissioner?
That is accurate. That is accurate, yes.
Now, what I'd like to ask Mr. Kerr, Mr. McGeehan, and Mrs. Brooks, some questions. By what method did you reach out to your citizens in your district?
They may or may not respond back to
Okay.
you.
Okay, was it email? Was it knocking on doors? I'd like to know. If you don't want to respond, you don't have to.
I was email, phone call, knocking on doors, talking to people, having meetings.
Okay, I'm not going to get an answer from the other 3.
You may or may not,
Okay.
that's their purview.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm not gonna guess how many people you talked to.
Well, the vice mayor was going to talk.
Okay,
Per the rules, if you would like a response, please put your information back at the table. There should be a place back there and we'll respond.
Okay.
This is not a question and answer period.
Okay.
And we can't get into debates.
okay, because I just would like a feeling of how many people were touched out to, because I wasn't. And so I guess I will do what Vice Mayor Kerr said and proceed from there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They have the ability to respond back if they want to. They may not have that data in front of them.
Oh, I
So-
didn't want real data. I just wanted approximations, you know. Was
I
it 2 or was it 200?
can't make them respond. I will.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I did receive your email and I was
Thanks,
going to
Eddie.
respond. Yes,
you.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I have spoken to people in District 3 as per our conversation the last time, which I appreciate you coming in.
Okay, and you got a majority of yeses from
I,
District 3.
I have both. I can't tell you exactly how many,
Yeah.
but I think there's 861 people in District 3. So I'm still reaching out and I'm always approachable. I tell everyone by email
Okay.
or
I
by,
did email
or by
you.
the door. Yeah.
Mhm. And I did
So-
go by the door.
And I definitely appreciate both sides.
Thanks,
Definitely.
thanks, Commissioner. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Please come up and talk to us.
John Hendricks, 569 Normandy Road, Madeira Beach. I really didn't want to get up here and talk tonight. There's something I do want to mention on a previous comment. How many of you have attended the ethics seminar? Have all of you attended it? And did you notice what firm held that seminar? It was Trask Dagow. They do a lot of work for the League of Cities. They're one of the most highly respected firms in the state of Florida. So I hate seeing their firm beaten up on. It could be that of all the ads that were put out there, many firms have heard what goes on in Madeira Beach and they didn't want any part of it. I think you would do well to stick with Trask Dagow. They've done a fine job. I know you just got back in here from a Shades meeting. I'd like you to tell me what happened in the Shades meeting. Mr. Rostek, can you tell me what happened in the Shades meeting?
No, sir. It was on the agenda. It's a confidential matter.
That's correct. And that's why you got the answer from Mr. Trask that he couldn't answer you because it was pending litigation. He was not disrespectful at all. He told you he couldn't comment on something that's still going through the court system. Now, I was reluctant to come up here tonight. I tried to have a meeting with our mayor, a private meeting, to go over some things. I invited him to my house because I wanted it to be confidential. He refused to do that, so here we are. I told him I would come up to the podium and say it here. Last meeting, you read emails. You read emails from two individuals. I would hope you're going to read an email tonight that you received. Otherwise, you're discriminating against a prior commissioner. I had a printout made of something that is the city's policy. I had it put to each of y'all's desk here tonight. You've got it in front of you, highlighted in yellow. We read emails during COVID. That ended in, was it September of 2020 or 2021? And yeah, I don't know the exact date. I don't have the copy of that with me, but that's something we don't do. If you want to make a comment, come on up and make one. Now, the emails that were read. Mr. Rostek said he did not know who Ken Weiss is. Clearly you do. There have been emails back and forth. Ken Weiss is Bill Gay's attorney. He has sued this city on numerous occasions. When he stated that it was at the appellate court, it's because it's being appealed because he lost. And he sued a commissioner in Treasure Island, who I know personally, for the same thing, and he lost that. And while he was in court, he told the judge, there's nothing in the law that says I have to tell the truth. So Mr. Weiss has admitted in court, he's a liar. That's in the court records. He was admonished by the judge. So learn who you're talking about and who you're sleeping with. What has Bill Carnes done for this city? I will tell you, Mr. Carnes spent $1.2 million on ROC Park. That's why it's named ROC Park, in honor of his son. He has done a ton of things for this city. He's here at every event. In fact, there are some of you that I never see at an event, yet you're supposed to be representing the city. What has Bill Gay done for this city? He has fed off it. Some people think he's a white knight. He's not a white knight. He's pocketed hundreds of thousands of dollars from this city. And yet you're listening to him. I ask for a little bit more time, please.
I'll allow it.
Part of this job for all of you is building relationships to help bring funding into this city and to make this a better city for everyone, and to attend events and to get to know these people that are our friends, our neighbors, our business partners. And yes, the politicians that deal with us. When I was in office, we brought in millions of dollars. I'm curious as to how much we got from the state this year. Are you working on those relationships? I think not. I see behaviors coming off the dais and coming to me when I tried to set up a meeting the other day. It's well known that Mayor Rostek has quite a temper. And as he told me in his text the other day, stay safe. I don't know what that meant. I put in an open records request for a copy of that text. Thus far, he has not given it. That request is still in. Your personal texts and your personal phone, when they have to do with city business, are applicable to the open records request. So by failing to disclose it, you're violating state law. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. In regard to the meeting, I texted you back numerous times to meet in a public place. Several people, including my wife sitting there, deemed I should not meet behind closed doors. The text messages that you sent did not indicate anything about city business. They were very obscure. If you would like to meet in public, I will meet with anyone in public. The comments are over, sir.
No,
The comments
I'm
are.
going to reply.
The
I'm going
comments
to
are over.
reply. No,
Sergeant at
of
Arms.
course, it was city business, or I wouldn't have been contacting you. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. Please take your seat. Are there any other public comments? Please come up, talk to us. Thank you, sir. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Tom Edwards, District 1 resident. I was here 2 meetings ago when you were starting to discuss about the bids, where city attorney and the question had come up, and the city manager, I agreed with him, is that they don't go ahead and seek solicitation from individual firms. But I did make the recommendation that it should go out to the Florida Bar. And we have also subgroups with the Pinellas and Hillsborough bars. And if we're not advertising with them, so we can see what kind of applicants we can have come in and present their ideals, then you and the citizens are not getting a good representation as to what's available out there. Mrs. Brooks, when we were on the finance committee, we had bids go out for financial companies to come in, and I think we had about 10 of them, and we had to sort through all that information and try and rate them out. Where we're going to have interviews with the top 3 or 4 companies. You need that information. I mean, you are up here, you have a sense of commitment to the city, because it takes a lot of work to be a commissioner up there. There's a lot of material you have to read. You get a lot of input from the citizens. And so I'm just suggesting again that I see it's coming up where you're talking about going ahead and scheduling when the other 2 firms come in, but I'm suggesting that, and it's not unusual for cities to go ahead and they don't have enough applicants come in for what any type of bid process is, to set it aside and put it out for rebid. It happens with state all the time. It happens with municipalities. I've been in municipal government for over 42 years. So this is not unusual to say, we like to get a better feel. If you put it out to the Florida Bar and you have just the same 2 come in, so be it. Then go ahead and do that interview process. But if you don't put it out, I think you're not doing due diligence and working for the citizens in that respect, that you need to hear from other companies as what they can offer for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? All right, I did receive an email from one of our previous commissioners, and the rules that I use are, it's got to concern city business, city items, and the person can't be here. The email in question basically just, pretty much shoots bullets at me. It has nothing to do with city business, so I am not going to read that. However, that person can come when they're feeling well, and I hope that they're on the mend and they can read it themselves when they arrive at our next meeting. Any other public comment? All right, we'll move on then.
Could I make,
Oh, absolutely. Come up, please. Public comment? I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
Donna Joe Mathis, 420 137th Avenue Circle. I was just stating that I would be in support of going out and reposting the city attorney position, because I feel that we should try to reach a larger selection of applicants, because I think it's very important to our city to get a broader spectrum of applicants that would greatly benefit our city to choose from, and then if they're still interested, the ones applied, reapply and go from there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please come up and talk to us.
My name is Bob Spaeth. I'm probably one of the longest residents here in Madeira Beach. First time I've been before you. It's a pleasure. I was here at that meeting when the stuff went between Mr. Trask, the mayor asked him, and Mr. Tagliani asked him some questions. That disturbed me a little bit the way it went, but what we need to do to get rid of any suspicion of anything is just go and put it out for rebid. You guys are all capable of making a good decision when that happens. So my point would be just send it out for a rebid so everybody feels that it's, across the board, we get rid of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to come up and talk to us? All right, we're going to close public comment at this time. Yes.
I'd like to read something into public comment,
Oh, please
if you don't
do.
mind. Some of the comments you see in local publications lately certainly seem to be handpicked. We, in our short time, have agreed on many things and disagreed on some. We have had healthy debates up here. That, in my opinion, is very good. To allow some to divide us with disinformation or not full factual information does not serve the residents of the city of Madeira Beach. During my quest to understand some of the accusations about our city attorney, I discovered a very interesting fact of what he does and does not do. Our city attorney does not work for the residents. He works for the commission. He does not serve at the pleasure of the public. We do. He serves the commission. Does everyone here on the commission understand and know that? Because I did not fully understand that. As an example, if our attorney received a request for something, he would not spend billable dollars researching without the direction of the commission. When a request comes to the city attorney, he would not act on that without direction from the commission. Not one of us, all of us. We work together. Not one single person up here directs anybody in this city, not by our charter. We make collective votes and we make decisions as a team. Communications that we have received read that some are living in the past. The only development approved in Madeira Beach since 2016 is the Schooner project. The town center approved in 2016 went through litigation that changed the design of the buildings from what the developer originally submitted. This is where we got the fat buildings with no green space. Other townhouses and homes that are being built and or rebuilt taller are within code. That development is not the developer going through a PUD process, the PUD. My point in this is that we cannot change the past, and we should come together and move our city forward with a kind and positive tone. I have spoken with some employees that love working for the city. They applied to work here because of the people they would work with. Let us not here on the dais change that. I would also like to say, just in closing, I was shown an email this week from one of the less than handful of people. Please hear me, because I have been misquoted. The less than handful of people that I have spoken about being bullied. I have to admit, the email was from one of them. It was delightfully happy. I was delightfully happy to see a much nicer tone. If only that same tone could continue in emails to us.
Thank you. Well put. All right, next item up is the consent agenda. And approval of minutes.
I'd like to make a comment regarding the minutes of the BOC workshop, July 26, 2023. It's actually page 40 here on our agenda. What's written is accurate. However, I wanted to add to that. It says Public Works Director Megan Wepfer explained how Demand Star works. The software shows the number of broadcasts, the number of downloads, and the number of submittals. This is under the legal city attorney RFQ process review. And I can hand this off to you, Clara, but I'd like to have added into that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Wepfer. She explained how Demand Star works. The software shows the RFQ was broadcast to 91 different law firms. 11 of those law firms downloaded it, and 2 firms submitted completed RFQ. So as far as amending the minutes, I can hand you that. You don't have to try to jot that down. I can give it to you. After we're finished with this, though, I would like to know if that report is available that could be shared with the commission to see actually what 91 firms viewed it, what 11 firms downloaded it. We know, of course, the 2 firms that submitted an RFQ. Thank you.
Any other changes, any other modifications to the minutes then?
No one else has any comments. I'd like to approve the consent agenda as written with those modifications.
Any other commissioners have comments?
A second.
Well,
Didn't you move?
oh, you didn't, I'm sorry, you made a motion and you have a second. All right, City Clerk, we call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, next we're up to public hearings. We have ordinance 2023-18, fees and collection procedures manual 2023, first reading and public hearing.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2023-18, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending the fees and collection procedures manual that was amended by ordinance 2023-05, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an immediate effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2023-18 by title only.
So we discussed this one in the workshop. in the previous meeting. So periodically, city staff collaborate to review our current fees and collections manual, identify requested changes. So those changes have been made in various areas, marina, public works, specifically most on the sanitation fees, finance, development services. Those are outlined and track changes in red in that fees and collections procedures manual as an attachment to this. So if you all have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, our recommendation is approval of ordinance 2023-18.
Is there any public comment on this before I turn it over to the commissioners for comment? Okay, no public comment on that, commissioners.
I have no comment.
I
Someone let
move
them-
that we approve the ordinance 2023-18.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, next up, item B, Bravo, ordinance 2023-23, Board of Commissioners Compensation and Health Insurance, first reading and public hearing.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2023-23, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, establishing the annual salary of the Board of Commissioners of the city of Madeira Beach, providing the option to waive the salary and obtain the same health insurance as city employees at the same rate that city employees enjoy, providing for the effective date of the new salaries, providing for the repeal of any ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2023-23 by title only.
Thank you kindly. Do we have public comment on this? All right, public comment closed. Commissioners.
I have one question. I was reading through it and I felt like I read something that changed the salary. If they choose the salary, it hasn't changed. Is that correct?
That is correct. We did no changes on the salary, right?
No, there was been no changes on the salary. We took that
No
number
increase
from,
or decrease. Got it.
yeah, that is exactly the same as what you're currently being paid.
It's just going to be an either or.
Correct.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Okay, do we have a motion?
I have one quick question.
Oh, please, please.
Currently, the health insurance costs what, Robin? For an employee?
Well, we're
That we pay.
budgeting for the fiscal 24, 20,000 per employee.
So this.
That would be the same budget
So
for
voting for this would be voting for a commissioner to have a $20,000 essentially opportunity at income from the city of Madeira Beach.
That is the budget. Once we determine how many employees opt to choose the dependent care, then that'll determine what an average total cost based on all that are being covered by our health insurance, what that number will be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Commissioner Brooks makes a great point. However, that's a top end that any commissioner could get. I'm thinking that many commissioners already are covered by VA or retirement or whatever. They would not be interested. And if they elected themselves, strictly themselves, then the budget is in the $13,000 range. Yes. Again, I mean, I think I actually suggested this. We've had issues, not just with this most recent election, but in prior elections of not having competition. 2 out of the 3 board members here tonight had no competition. I'm suggesting that this is of great value to some board members, and I think it'll inspire others to run.
We've already closed I've got to file a proceed. Okay, I'll allow a question come up. Is there a
the
tax
same-
implication for the health commissioners on this? Do
Would
we
be the
know?
same as any other employee. I'm pretty sure. I mean, not a tax attorney, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it would. I don't, unless there's a reason you would be exempted, but I'm guessing it's the same as any other. It's a benefit paid. It's a taxable benefit.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you. Any other commissioners have a question? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 2023, providing for an option for the Board of Commissioners to waive their annual salary to obtain the same health insurance as city employees at the same rate that the city employees enjoy.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
City Clerk, can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
No.
Mayor Rostick.
Yes.
The motion carried 4-1.
All right, next up is item C, Charlie, ordinance 2023-24, the FRS reinstatement, first reading and public hearing.
Mayor Commissioners, ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, reinstating the city's membership in the Florida retirement system, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2023-24 by title only.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any citizen comment on this? Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
I believe we discussed this at length at one of the workshops, and it's something that the employees used to enjoy. For whatever reason, years, maybe even decades ago, it was changed to the system that they currently have. In my estimation, reverting back to the FRS is a great benefit for the employees, and I think it's, as per the discussion at the workshop, I think it's a great option.
I just think the FRS's Florida retirement system is a very safe option. I know from personal experience that it's what the Pinellas County Schools districts uses. Our fire department already uses it. It makes sense that we would use it.
Thank you. Commissioner Brooks or McGinn? No? All right. Do we have someone who's going to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-24, the FRS reinstatement.
I'll second.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Rostick.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right. Item D Delta, ordinance 2023-25, adjusting election district boundaries, first reading and public hearing.
Mayor Commissioners, this is ordinance 2023-25, an ordinance of the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, adjusting the existing boundaries of election districts within the city of Madeira Beach, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That was a reading of ordinance 2023-25 by title only.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this? Please come up. Thank you for wanting to speak.
Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian Drive. This gets into an issue that I was originally bringing up or thought about trying to impose. Why do we have districts? So like, why can I not run for District 4? Which now if we're looking at readjusting the boundaries, I know people that live on Palm Avenue, Palm Street, that they currently are in District 2. Now they're going to be in District 3. So what if one of those people were a commission member? So now suddenly you're switching what district you're living in. And I was originally in going with the idea of why do we have to have people from different areas? our city is not that big. And especially now, if you're adjusting, well, okay, so now you were in 3, now you're in 2. So who do you really represent? And that's just one of the questions. Why do we have to have 4 distinct districts? I understand in large areas, I mean, and they were saying, well, okay, I live in District 2. Well, I don't know what's going on in District 4. Really? Or somebody in District 4, they don't know what's going on in District 1, which is Johns Pass Avenue. It just opens up the potential of why do we have specific districts? And especially now, if you're going to be changing, so how's that going to relate to the next election? And being the election come March. So if they were in that area that was previously District 2, now they're in 3. So can they not run for 2? Just food for thought.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? This is very interesting. Commissioners.
Mayor, may I address something, Mr. Dillon?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Please.
Your point is well taken. I get that. My philosophy has always been that the districts, we're like a mini Congress, House of Representatives, I think. And yes, I do know what's going on in District 4 and 3 and 2. I'm very familiar with the whole island. I think it's important that we have people who live in specific areas to represent that areas. For instance, when we first started talking about the pocket parks, I know those very well. That's where I live. I understand those very well. There's parts, I'm not sure exactly, where exactly District 4 ends and begins. So that I think is a good reason for maintaining districts. I appreciate that we're changing the lines so that they're evenly distributed. I think that's super important so that the same number of people are represented by each commissioner. So I'm in favor of that. And although I'm not strongly saying that that would be a terrible idea, that would mean we'd all be commissioners at large, like the mayor is what we would be. I do believe that there is advantage to someone representing a specific district. I see an advantage to that.
Interesting comments. Vice Mayor?
Clara, does the new district lines, does that impact the upcoming election?
It does not. It will impact the next one.
That's what I thought. So it has no,
Yeah, because we have a time frame. It has to be done at least 6 months before the election, which it is, which if it was going to take place now, it would have passed last year. So the candidate qualifying period for that material would stay the same as we had last year.
right, that's what I remembered,
But
but
we'll change if it passes for next year.
for next year.
Yes,
So it won't be until the
2024.
election in March of 2025.
correct. So in our December qualifying period, for those 2 weeks that we have to make it available, they will be in that packet.
Right. And this is required by state law to be done every 5 years
Correct.
to make it
It's actually the city charter.
Charter.
in the city charter.
City charter, yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay.
Charter identifies districts. It's not a
Correct.
state statute or a federal law.
Correct.
It's
That
what
is correct.
the voters in this city at some point years ago chose to create districts. Some cities have districts, some cities do not. Some cities just have seats. Some cities just, it's a plurality. If you have 6 people running and you have 3 seats, top 3 vote getters.
Right.
St. Petersburg has districts, Clearwater does not. So it's just a mixture and it's in the charter. I always comment that if there are there's going to be different viewpoints for this clearly, but that's one good thing to why you review your charter every X number of years to determine if there is a desire to make a change, such as eliminating districts or whatever the desire is from registered voters.
Thank you.
Right, and I know it's not up for debate with this question or any, what we're approving here. But I would agree with Commissioner Taglerini that it's important to have one resident from each district. I think it's set up correctly. There was some debate
I agree.
with the previous board whether we actually wanted to make the voting strictly for that district, for that commissioner. That did not get approved. It was an overall at-large vote on that because of the size of our city. And I think it's a happy compromise between the two.
Mhm. I had spoke to just had a comment to a commissioner a few years ago, and he said that they were talking about it. But he said that in the much larger cities, like if you only had 5 commissioners, it's almost not making a difference. But if you got a smaller city, it's like being personable, having that one person in each of those districts representing that area, even though they're voted on at large.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner comments?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
thank
please.
you.
Oh, please come in. Yes.
I was elected, my first term here and, I believe I work, and as we all do, for the city of Madeira Beach, the citizens of Madeira Beach. I am District 3, as everyone knows, but I reach out to everyone in all the districts, and the gentleman brings up a valid point. I do agree with the districts, but also I believe that the commission can also reach out across not just their district, but other districts to get their opinions. I think that the district part really kind of isolates us, kind of just puts us in one little piece of area, that we pretty much work through in hopes now that we can all reach across the board and get all kinds of different opinions from all kinds of different districts. And I welcome anyone that's watching at home. Feel free to email me about any kind of issue. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve ordinance 2023-25, adjusting election district boundaries.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Rosteck.
Yes,
The motion carried 5-0.
thank you. All right, next up is unfinished business, Tom and Kitty Stewart Park parking. Resident comments first. Please come up. Thank you for wanting to speak to us.
Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian, once again. I would ask that if you do approve this, rather than the 2 parking spots across from each other, if you put them next to each other and on the south side of the property, because you could easily put signs in front of where those parking stalls are. And just as a matter of trying to get that out ahead of time, because as it is right now, you've got, it looks like 2 spots designated as a temporary for this. So two spots designated right by Gulf Boulevard. So if you have them on the south end of the parking lot, the signs could be put in very easily and taken out. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. Next, please come up and talk to us. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Good evening, commissioners.
This was your idea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, anyway, John Conley, Normandy Road. I would love to get 2 spots back. I would like to get 4 spots back, but I'll settle for 2. But before you came back from your meeting in there, I was talking to John, and John had a great idea. Designate the sign to say between 10 and 4 for residential only. And this way, we still have an avenue to make money before 10 o'clock and to make money after 4 o'clock. Great idea, John. Thank you.
Was that from John Hendricks? Thank you. That was excellent. Okay, any other resident comments on this? Please come up.
My name is Paul Tilka, North Bay Shore Drive. I live very close to the park, and I'd like to encourage you to vote to give us parking spots back that we had lost when the cities took over the park and we lost it as a resident. I don't think it would be any problem for them because they have two new lots or one new lot and one other lot. So they have plenty of parking spaces for themselves. And so I just hope you pass that and give us the benefit of having the ability to go there and use the park. Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other resident comment on this? Okay, commissioner comments,
I have a comment.
please.
So when we talked about this in the workshop, we all agreed, I believe I recall, that doing a trial run of 2 spots would be good. We would see how that went. I like the idea of the recommendation for the sign for hours, but I would like to just point out, just from some emails that I received, or an email in particular, that when Kitty Stewart Park originally, before it got converted to the park and changed, there were no dedicated spots for residents. So all of the spots there were for anyone. And I'm not sure that the city or that everybody knows that across the street, there are 5 dedicated spots to residents only, with a crosswalk to safely walk across the street. So although I do support doing this trial run to see how it works out and whether or not it is something that works out for the citizens, I think it's important to remind citizens that we do have dedicated spots across the street, 5 of them for residents, and that they can easily cross the street with the crosswalk that is right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners?
Mr. Mayor, in addition to that, I think we need, and I put this in my email to residents, I need to remind them, they always could park there for free. So that's always been available for them. And I do want to, I told her I would say this. I got 2 emails saying they wished it was 4 instead of just 2. And I said I would say it out loud. I'm in favor of 2. I think just Commissioner Brooks, there wasn't a restaurant before. So it was rarely used. It really wasn't that popular, I don't think, for parking for residents, but I think that's the argument they're gonna make, is there wasn't a restaurant to compete with. I'm in favor of this, and I do like the idea of putting them both on the same side.
All right, this is the information I've gathered, talking to Jamal, our expert back there. You know it. We have 557 paid parking spots within the city right now. If we take 4 spaces and we had cars in them till when the city opened, where you were allowed to park and leave, maximum income per spot is $7K. That is the highest end, and we know that not every space is taken. So that's a high number. Asking for 4 spots, 2 against the beach, 2 against Gulf Boulevard, like Mr. Connolly initially suggested, because we're all getting older, we're all residents, we're all talking about quality of life for our residents. I would like to see 4, 2 and 2. There's plenty of other paid parking and as a trial, but then I guess, and we talked about this bit of a quagmire, is how are we going to gauge its success or failure? That we're going to have, it monitored. And then something else we were talking with the city manager about was the enforcement. We talked about it. You want to bring that up?
And you identify the spaces, they would be very well marked and even painted on the asphalt or the spaces, but yeah, staff would go in there and obviously verify that each vehicle that parks there during, if we decide on designated hours, 10 to 4, whatever those might be, then staff would go by and just make sure that only residents park there. If not, then they would receive a $90 citation for improper parking. If they do get if they get 3, we can then tow them, if that were the case for repeat offenders. But that's how we would just enforce, and we would be able to track as best as our staff could the usage of those spaces by residents. But it would be a manual process. We really don't have a very scientific or even very or accurate process to determine the usage, but it'll just be the regular ongoing enforcement.
Great. I think this is an excellent way to meet everyone halfway and to heal some old wounds that are out there. I think we should give it a try. In addition, maybe we could task PCSO to provide us some additional assistance with some of the parking enforcement. We have options here. What are we paying them? 1.65, 1.5 mil a year, that maybe we can, on their down times, help us do some enforcement, and that would put more money back in the bank to lessen the blow of the $7,000 per parking spot if that parking spot was occupied during the entire time that a vehicle could park there. And those would be my comments. I'd like to see 2 and 2. Let's give it a try. Let's see how it works. If it doesn't work, we can go back. I understand we have the resident parking across the street, but okay, let's change that to something else possibly. Let's put our residents first, is all I'm asking. Other comments?
My question is, we want to do this as a trial period, but we don't know how we're going to monitor it. How do we know the success or failure? Or do we, if we can monitor it, what's success? That they,
They're being, I don't, we'd have to,
that, if I may.
oh, go ahead, please.
That they're actually being used 50% of the time? Is that success? Is it 100% of the time? Is it 20% of the time? These are things that we need to discuss. Can we even tell when they are? Second question, and we can discuss all these. I did see a comment made by a resident that I don't know if they're handicapped or if they're just older. Should one of these spaces that's for residents only be a handicap? So it's fulfilling. I feel that that's a stronger, if we're going to have an empty spot, let's have it used by residents that really need it, that don't, that getting from across the street is a burden and they still want to appreciate it. Now, and the last item, and we can talk about all these, is we're charging is it $3 an hour?
Yes.
Compared to the rate across the street, which is
$7 an hour. as
okay.
of
So if I'm
earlier
going
today.
to Caddy's as a patron, I'm gonna park in Kitty Stewart Park if possible. I'm gonna fill those spots first, not just because they're more convenient and everybody likes to park next to the entrance. It's because it's half the price. I would suggest that if we're gonna give up revenue from tourism, that perhaps we have a way to recoup that by raising the rates of all the spots comparable to what's being charged across the street.
I mean, that is certainly something you can do. It would have to be done via an ordinance to raise the rate, but that is.
But
certainly
we're
an
allowed
option.
to specifically raise the rate in a specific parking lot.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's citywide or a lot or even a few spaces if that was your desire.
Where do we stand in the other beach communities rate wise? Are we the lowest, in the middle, the highest?
Treasure Island has some lots that are $2.50 an hour and some at $3 an hour. St. Pete Beach is $3.75 an hour. If you go, beach communities, there are private lots up and down the beach and they range from a low of $4 an hour to $8 an hour. And then they will have special events or special weekends, anywhere from $20 to the highest that I have personally seen observed is $45 for the day. So $20 to $45 for a day. If you go up the beach, the next city that charges is Clearwater, and they range from they're $3.50 right on certain spaces right on Gulfview Boulevard. And then the rest along the sand are $3. I think they still have some that are $2.50 an hour, but most are $3 and $3.50 up there. I believe there's a few cities that don't charge along the beach, but I haven't been there. I'm not familiar. I like to go to a beach where I have to pay to park. I'll be flat out in full disclosure. I love paying a city to park.
So
Even if I get a ticket, I do pay the ticket.
So we're in the ballpark.
Yes.
Okay.
But we are currently the least expensive public parking in our own city. There are three other entities that charge for any member of the public to park, and the next is $4 between a lot and the garage at the Village, and then another lot along Gulf Boulevard. And then the other privately managed or operated lots, again, range from, lately, it seems like a low of $6 an hour to as high as $8 an hour. But yes, if you wanted just for Kitty Stewart Park, that lot to be $5 or $6 an hour, if that's your desire, that can be done. We do have to go through an ordinance through the collections ordinance that we had earlier today. We would bring that back to you, and that would require 2 readings to make that change.
How about as an offset, we just raise the rate 25 cents per the 557. That would make up the difference that the vice mayor's talking about, and we'd still be within the realm of the other beach communities. What do you think about that?
I'm just trying to not give it an advantage to park in Kitty Stewart Park versus the parking lot that Caddy's built. If $7 is not going to discourage business across the street, why wouldn't we match whatever the parking rate is across the street?
Okay, I don't understand why.
$7 an hour.
Yeah, why do we want to discourage the businesses? They're part of our tax base. What I'm looking for here is 4 trial parking spots for resident only parking. So
I understand that,
Okay.
but why are we incentivizing an empty lot across the street?
how so?
If I'm going to visit Caddy's, I'm going to drive to Caddy's. That's my goal. I'm not going to the beach. I'm going to Caddy's.
Oh, you're looking for the cheapest parking.
I'm going to park in Kitty Stewart Park, if possible, instead of parking across the street, which is the parking lot the Caddy's built for their patrons.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, match it.
Okay, I understand.
It's not going to impact residents because residents park for free in Kitty Stewart Park.
Well, correct.
Our residents can park for free at any of the city lots and spaces, like on Village Boulevard and all the other city lots.
Yeah, and what we're talking about here is we want dedicated, so they don't have to drive around or go back home if they live out on Crystal Island, that they know they've got a spot to come unless there's another resident there. So, oh, okay.
If I could address one thing, measure of our success is that we've made a commitment to improve the quality of life of our residents. We're not looking to make money. We're losing money. We're losing money. But the measure of our success is we can say we have made a commitment to improve the quality of life for our residents.
Excellent point. Any other commissioners?
So what we're talking about tonight, though, is, and I hear what you're saying, Vice Mayor Kerr, but what we're talking about is voting to approve parking spots dedicated to residents only. And what was brought up was adding hours to a sign that dedicated resident parking would be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 10 to 4, whatever we decide, or if we do want that. I mean, how do we feel about that? So the changing of the parking, I get it. I get what you're saying. I can see where not all residents would like that because some residents do pay to park. They live here, but they don't have parking passes, or their visitors are here and they would be going there and have to pay. I can see where that could become a problem. I can see where tomorrow morning or next week, we'll get emails and we'll know how the people who do take the time to send the emails know or what they feel. But how do you feel about making it specific hours only as opposed to 24/7 resident only parking? I think that's a bigger question right now than changing the fees.
I mean, we don't have 24/7 parking, but a certain hours of operation, that would be fine. Sure, I'd be all for that.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
So I'm one of the, just say I'm one of the residents who wants that dedicated parking to residents. I want to go there to watch the sunset. If my parking is limited, and I'm not saying I'm for or against, I don't really currently have an opinion, but are we going to be giving those residents who have emailed and asked for the dedicated spaces what they want if we tell them at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you can't park there anymore? That's all, that would be my only thought in that. I think that the time could be possibly great, but
Yeah, I think we'd be okay with the time because if they want to go there and watch the sunset and they're there earlier, they've already taken up that spot. Well, that makes
I'm
sense?
sorry, that works in the winter,
Yeah.
right, not in the summer.
not in the summer. But the hours is intriguing to me, but again, I'm gonna look at the quality of life of the residents. What if the hours matched the hours of the restaurant?
Well, I mean, I
That would,
think, yeah,
that
I
would
think
take in sunset,
right, because the restaurant closes at 10.
right? So
And I don't think there's a time limit on the parking lot. So
There-
the parking lot itself, you can park in it.
You can park overnight because
right.
it is, as long, you have to pay to park overnight. Is that-
Right.
That's correct, Jamal?
Yeah, so it is a 24/7
Oh,
parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I misspoke.
Archibald Park lot is not a 24-hour.
to just reserve it during the times when customers would be fighting for it. So that they could go see the sunset all year long. I mean, that's just, if we're talking about hours, that cutting it off at 4, they still want to come for the restaurant after 4. So in response to what you're saying about the sunset, if we aligned it, I don't even think they open till 11, do they?
I don't know.
No, yeah, I think that's correct. Typically about 11.
11,
is
then
when they
just
open
from open to close,
lunch.
so that they're not going to be in competition with guests of the business. I don't know.
I mean, I think then if you're either doing a 10 to 4 or you're not doing any. It's resident only all the time. So if what you're saying is, and then maybe I'm misunderstanding you, the recommendation was to set the hours, the resident parking only hours from 10 to 4.
Right.
All I'm saying is you're not going to please the residents who want to go and use that parking for sunset or what have you.
Right.
So there's no point in making parking from 10 to 10, the hours of the business, because it may as well be open resident parking all the time. If the business is closed, the competition for those slots is not going to be great. It doesn't make sense to say this is resident parking only for the hours that Caddy's is open. It should just be resident parking only, period.
I'm trying to follow you. It seems, I thought that I solved the problem that you presented when you said.
No, I
devil's
wasn't,
I
no.
thought
My
that-
point was, why do hours? You're either making it resident
Oh,
parking
well,
or
I'd be
you're
happy to
not.
leave it. I'd be
Yeah,
happy
It's
to
one
have
way,
no
it's one way
hours.
or the other, because
Yeah, I'd be happy having
my
no
point
hours.
was, if you make it resident parking only from 10 to 4,
Right.
how's that really doing what the residents that are asking for this are asking for? It's not. You're not giving them what they're asking for,
Right.
because
No,
if
I
they're not
thought if
there
we
by 4
wanted to use
o'clock.
hours, because the majority wanted to do that, then I was extending them. But I'm not married to that idea.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm just bringing it up as a conversation because people will care about
Right.
that. I'm certain people will care.
Sure. Yeah, and in the summer, sunset's late,
Right.
so.
It is.
That's all I was saying.
I got you.
Well, how about this then? Let's do the 2 and 2. Let's do 4, if everybody's amicable to that. 2 against the beach, 2 against the road, with no time parameters on it for now, is a trial. But the thing is, it's going to be up to Jamal to determine success or failure with his staff. You know, I guess we need to come to,
Well, he can provide us with feedback about how many people are illegally parking there.
And we can track, I mean, when they're out there, they can just note quickly a resident at this, date, time. All 4 spaces had residents, or 2 of them or 3 of them, but it would be at that day and time that they are there. Now, they do go through the lot several times throughout the day. So that's the best we can, I mean, I go through there pretty frequently. I could note that as well. And that's really the only way we can keep track without having a sensor or having cameras. But again, we're to determine if it's a resident only, we can only determine that through the sticker that is on the vehicle, or if they purchased the vanity plate with the sticker.
absolutely.
So then how about if we do, because originally we talked about only 2. So when we had our workshop, we were only talking about doing 2 parking spots for residents as a trial. We weren't talking about 4. So because 4 is a lot of parking spots, considering there are 5 across the street. So how about if you want to do it as a trial to see how it's going to work, let's do 2 resident only and 2 with the limited parking that was suggested by the resident that was here tonight, the 10 to 4. And that would tell you whether or not, with the looking, who's using it, who's not, and whether or not they are being used.
I think the only problem we're gonna have with that is every parking spot's gonna have different signage, and we're gonna start to confuse people, and we're gonna have problems. Keep in mind, we went from 6 to, I believe, Jamal, 14.
Yeah, they're-
What's 4 gonna, I think we're gonna confuse people, and we're gonna get people in trouble, and they're gonna get ticketed.
Does it affect our development agreement? Is there anything in our development agreement in regards to parking?
There is, and my memory is that the city agreed, along with the developer at the time, that would be first come, first serve use of the parking spaces. So this signing them and saying, yeah, even though you're first, you're not a resident, you don't get it, that may be considered a violation of the development agreement. And you may be hearing from, that developer. But I'm pretty sure, my memory was when we drafted it, was just to make sure it was first come, first served to anybody. So we wouldn't have that situation where the restaurant was taking full control. So it's working against us and the way that the language was drafted then, if you're gonna wanna limit it 2 or 4 spaces to.
So I think that it would be in our best interest, my opinion, to table this and make sure we're a very litigious community.
Well,
Somebody
let me
will
ask
sue
for
us.
clarification, Mr. Trask. What about if we only used parking spaces on the south end where there were already? Or would does that apply to the whole lot, or just the ones they added?
They added all the parking spaces. Okay, it was just a very small slice of land out there. And when it was redone, they redid it all. So, but to answer your question, it doesn't, my recollection of it, and having written it, whatever, 10 years ago, it was all of the parking lot. It didn't say this part will be first come, first serve, and this part will be used by the restaurant. We were trying to make sure that the restaurant didn't have control over it at all when we drafted it.
But it sounds like what you're saying is that they do then. I mean, Tom and Kitty Stewart Park had 6. So you're saying the city no longer has control over how they manage those 6 spots?
It's a contractual agreement that the city entered into. And the contractual agreement, my recollection of is, we need to read it,
Okay.
is that it was first come, first serve. And so if you're limiting it to 2 of the spaces or 4 of the spaces to something other than first come, first serve, then that may be considered a violation of that development agreement. Keep in mind now, development agreements expire too. So it may have already expired. And so maybe that language is not controlling. That's something that we need to definitely look into.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Mayor, if I may add,
Oh, please.
if ideally it's to collect as much data on your specific goal here is to see how many residents will utilize those 4 or 2 spaces that you were wanting to give out. My staff, when they patrol, we're tagging every single vehicle by plate. So it wouldn't go out of the norm to keep track of those 4 to particular spaces for a trial period. It would not be an inconvenience. I just want to put that on.
Thank you, but
under
it sounds like we may have some legal issues.
Well, just
Yeah,
if we overcome that.
yeah, yeah. We
wanna let you know.
definitely need to cross all of our Ts and dot our Is with this, just to make sure that we're doing.
But your system wouldn't allow, if there's no vehicle in the space, to monitor that there's no vehicle in the space.
Well, I know how to work around it. It will be labeled as an abandoned citation or abandoned ticket, but I'll be able to look it up and categorize it and
Okay.
then set the data there, if that makes sense. But not
Wow.
as a citation, but as a collection of a license plate in our system that does not go away. So,
That's great news.
Yeah.
I would concur with Commissioner Brooks that we table it until we get a better opinion on
You
what we
could
can
go
do.
forward with it contingent upon
Yeah,
it being
yeah.
legally
okay.
acceptable under the current terms of development agreement. So I would move forward with what you want to do and just make it contingent upon,
Okay.
city attorney and city manager review and coming to the conclusion that would not subject the city to further litigation.
Well, in that case, I would suggest that the 4 spots, one of which is handicap. And with let me ask one more question. Jamal,
yes, sir.
the 14 spots, there are additional spots that are not part of Kitty Stewart that are over there that are being, that have parking revenue. Is that correct or is it not correct?
Are you referring to the motorcycle and?
I just don't know.
motorcycle
I
spaces?
don't know how many spaces are
One
total.
handicap.
That's not on Kitty Stewart Park property, but it's adjacent to.
There is one
under-
there is one presently there that we do not
Okay.
patrol.
Well, if caddies with their parking agreement is set $7 as the rate across the street, there shouldn't be any pushback to just have every spot other than the resident spots being equal to what they're charging across the street. So in that case, I would suggest if we're going to do the 4 spots, one which is handicap, is contingent on raising the rates of the other spots to equal what's across the street.
You can't take the handicap. You can't take the handicap away from the restaurant.
Well, then there would be 2 handicap spots.
No, I don't think you,
Well, I don't think you can add another handicap spot physically.
Sure you can.
you can. only-
No, you'd lose a parking spot.
They're bigger.
They're bigger, they're wider, they're
Very,
bigger.
very true.
So by taking the handicap spot, designating it to the city, that takes it away from the restaurant.
Total
you
of
can't do.
17.
Well,
feet, yeah.
actually, the spot next to you can, and I apologize, our screens are not working. But the spot closest to the bathroom, the spot facing the sand
Has room.
is next to, I'm just gonna say it, but next to the Chuck Dillon golf cart parking spot. And other golf carts. But so that could be, and it still would allow room for a golf cart. Currently, you can fit 2. But keep in mind, any of the spaces, anybody with a valid handicap placard can park in any of the spaces. Granted, if you need more space, you are limited to the space. I think that's a reason. But Florida statutes allows anyone with a valid handicap placard to park in a city space free of charge.
Even if
But
it's a-
once again, you cannot take away that one
we would
handicap
not.
Well,
spot.
well, then we'll put a
Designate.
second one. We're going to take.
Yeah,
your-
we're
your
not
golf
gonna
cart
take it
spot.
away.
Well, but then that gets into the count, the people count in the restaurant, that you're taking away one of the parking spots.
Huh?
Parking spots were not included in
Not
the
included
parking
in the
count
count.
for that restaurant.
None of them?
I don't believe any of them were counted. Mm-mm.
We can confirm that through the agreement, but
I do believe it's, I recall one of the meetings they were, and in fact, each of the motorcycle spots were considered as a vehicle count.
Well, and now they have more
And the
spots
bike,
across the
yeah.
street.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
It just quickly perusing through the agreement, it does, as Mr. Trask stated, first come, they shall all be public on a first come, first served basis.
In perpetuity.
For the term of the
Development
agreement.
And what is that? What is the year?
March 13th.
It would be the vehicles that-
Didn't find it. We'll review and, but as Mr. Trask stated, I think you can proceed and contingent on ensuring that it does conform or comply with the development agreement.
Okay.
So the recommendation was to do a trial run for 2 to 3 months. So if we're going to do a trial run and we're going to vote on a trial, we need to define what that trial time is. And when it ends, come back and vote as to whether or not we want it to be permanently resident parking, correct? I'm asking.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. We need to have a trial period. I was thinking maybe from now to the end of the year. I mean, we're into August now.
4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agreement's expired.
Okay. So we're in the clear there. Okay. All right. A trial period for 4 months, 3 and 1, 3 regular parking, 1 handicap, 2 against the beach, 2 against Golf Boulevard, 4-month trial period, no time parameter or limits on the parking times.
Okay.
And then we'll have Jamal, unfortunately, we have to task him a little more with some data collection to whether we have a success or failure.
Yeah.
We will, like. No, they're not, residents are not allowed to park overnight in any of the city lots. And we do communicate that with every resident that has received a parking, a free resident parking permit to park for free at any of the city-owned spaces. There is no overnight parking with that sticker. And just, I'm sorry, one final thing, with the, so we will mark them, we will look to begin, I think, Jamal, by September the 1st at the latest to get these marked. We'll try to as soon as we can, but if that is okay.
I support the parameters Mayor Rostek has outlined.
So if we're doing it till December, then we would just bring it back in our January meeting for discussion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
run to December 31st and let's see where we are. But I mean, depending on what the data shows, I mean, we just have to remember in the end, it's all about the residents first and their quality of life. But we also have to analyze the data. Okay, so do we have a motion?
Doesn't look
Oh.
like a vote.
Since this is pretty controversial, I'm sorry, say that again, sir?
Just come up to the microphone, Mr.
Yeah, we'll allow it. Come up and ask your question. I mean, we need everybody's input.
Can we get an email to everybody or a newsletter that this has changed? Because there's people, I mean, I ride by that parking lot and I don't even look at it anymore because it's full.
As soon as the city manager
We'll get
tells
to that.
everybody
So
that,
there'll be some kind of notification.
absolutely, sir.
Are we doing the rate change as part of this whole thing? Does that have to be
Well,
separate?
again,
It's by word, it would have to be done separately.
What I would like to see, and this is open for discussion, why don't we wait to see what the analysis of these 4 months worth of doing it, what that does for us? From there, if it turns into permanent, then let's work on pulling the trigger on raising the rates.
I don't understand the delay. I don't know what that buys us. Right now, there's incentivized to use Kitty Stewart Park versus the parking that's been put in across the street. Why do we want to incentivize that
All right.
at the expense to the residents?
Okay, let's go down to John's Pass Village for a second. We have city parking down there at the city rate, and then we have commercial entities that are charging more money there. With your analogy of that, why don't we raise the rates all the way through the city
And
the
that's
same then?
that's a valid discussion. That's
Okay.
a valid point.
Okay.
However, we don't have any pushback, any issues of that lot being full all the time, which has been the resident pushback. The Kitty Stewart Park is always full all the time. Even though we can park there for free, we can't park there because there's never a spot.
My feeling on this is that we do those are two separate things. Let's get the trial done. If we think that it's successful and we want to keep it, then we're going to have a workshop and talk about raising the parking.
I don't see how one is contingent to the other.
Well, I do.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on this?
I understand you, Vice Mayor Kerr. I hear what you're saying. You're saying that the parking law or the parking is logged up there because it's so inexpensive. And that if we raised it and made it the same price as what Caddy's is getting across the street, people wouldn't be,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm going to the restaurant and I have to choose where I'm gonna park. So I'm gonna pull into a spot that's next to another, that might be a tight spot because I'm gonna save $4 an hour. Although across the street, it's only 50% full. So why don't I pull across the street, have a safer spot for my car? If it's the same rate, then that's a rational decision. If it's not the same rate, well, maybe I can get into that little spot. And what's the advantage to the city or the residents in having the lower parking rate there? I mean, Caddy set the rate. We didn't set the rate. I'm just suggesting we match it.
And my suggestion to that would be, let's raise the parking at the 557 spots by 25 cents and let's make up the difference. And that also brings us in line with the other beach communities. And that provides more income to the city without any pain coming out of us.
It's a different discussion, but we can take that up.
Okay. Oh, please, we're out of public comment, but please, no, you're very important. Please come talk to us. Tell us your thoughts.
Bill Kearns, 101 150th Avenue. I just wanted to point out, people can valet park there. It's $6. It's not $6 an hour, it's $6. And I don't know, it just seems like you're putting this onus, this burden on caddies. They're trying to sell food there. And you're jacking this rate up. I think it's unfair to them and they're not here to even speak for themselves. So
And I would agree with
those are
that.
my opinions.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because
I
that
was
being
just, that
said,
makes it totally different.
I'm valet parking.
Well, I think you have to eat at the restaurant. I think you have to patronize.
Well, and
Yeah.
he's, that's what Vice Mayor Kerr's, his,
I'm
what
just.
he's pointing out is that if you're going there to eat, are
Right.
you gonna pay the less expensive city or are you gonna park across the street? I'm gonna valet because it's only $6. If I didn't live in Madeira
know.
Beach and I was paying to park.
Right,
So
exactly.
I did not realize that's
I
how
didn't
much
know that.
valet
We didn't have that
was.
information.
Now, Mr.
That makes
Carnes
sense.
brings up a very valid point. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're back to a motion on the 3-in-1 with no changes in parking fees, and we're doing a trial period till December 31st, starting as soon as the city manager can get with Jamal and we overwork him some more. Do I have a motion on this?
Is this an ordinance? I thought it was just no.
No,
I move that we go forward with the mayor's parameters for the parking plan.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Also, I'd like to see, I'd like to, the handicap spot. I haven't been to the Tom and Kitty Stewart Park for a while. Is that wheelchair accessible to the beach? Yes, yeah, okay.
It doesn't have one of those Moby mats.
No.
No, but they have the ability to get out of their vehicle without being unimpeded.
Right, at the,
Yes,
Okay, okay. I was also thinking about like a boardwalk
No, we
where,
do not.
where they can actually get to the beach.
No, not there.
No, there's a ramp, I mean, to kind of from, on the southern end of the lot. The disabled park, the handicap spot is right next to the closest one to the bathroom building. And then there's a way to get, to use the bathroom, but also to walk up toward the sand.
It gets you,
Okay.
it gets you through the dune area.
Gets you
Yes.
through the dune area. Is the, real quick, is the bathrooms handicap accessible?
It has to be.
Yes.
It has to
Okay.
be. Okay. All right. Next up, fitness center public usage. Do we have public comment on this first? Jay, would you come up and talk to us, please? I know the biggest issue with that was the fact that there may have been some type of an agreement, grant to get it with restricted usage, I think was the quandary potentially.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. Yes, the one question was about the use of the equipment of the grant. I have not received or found any supporting documentation on that. So I honestly don't have an answer as far as that's concerned. I've been digging through their site. I mean, this is a grant that we applied for in 2015. I've looked back at minutes and stuff from the meetings and really no additional information was located through that. I just see that the immediate description of the grant is it says fire safety grants fund critically needed resources to equip and train emergency personnel, enhance efficiencies and support community resilience. So that's just from the FEMA website that this grant is now posted at today. So
Yeah.
there's no,
Can you do me a favor? Wait for a second for the city attorney to come back and read that to him. Let's get his interpretation on this. To me, reading it for what it says is it was bought for the fire department use only.
well, this is just description of the Assistance to Firefighter Grants Program. It's just their tagline is fire safety grants fund critically needed resources to equip and train emergency personnel and enhance efficiencies and support community resilience. We used that grant in 2015. And it just says they increased expenditures by $23,655 in accordance with the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Award. And then it's just a resolution. So I don't have any of the grant documentation. I've not seen that. I just know based on this resolution that that's what we utilized.
Understand?
So I guess the question is, does the grant say that it's supposed to be used solely for the firefighters? I doubt very much that it says that, but we can double check that grant agreement. There is normally also a restrictive covenant that's recorded at the same time when the grant is received that, says that we have to use the money for that particular purpose for a certain number of years. And so we would need to look at that too. It's a site dedication deed restriction normally required for those types of grants agreements. So we can look at it. I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know the answer yet, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you think we could maybe get some answers by the next workshop?
absolutely.
Okay.
And just to kind of compound on that, for example, the playground in Rock Park was built via the FERDAP grant. It's a grant from Parks and Recs development stuff. And part of that grant, it says like that the property has to be used for the next 50 years for public use as a playground, that kind of thing. So that's what he means by with those additional details. So there may be something that says that, there also may not be, but we have applied for one specifically in the past that has, so. Yep.
Well, thank you. Commissioners, you have any questions? To me, it sounds like we need to table it.
I move that we table this until we find out the answer.
Whether or not it's.
So there's a motion.
Okay.
I made a motion.
He made a motion to table it. Or is there still
We
questions?
didn't have a chance to discuss it.
you can discuss, I think.
So if there's a motion to table and it's been seconded, that controls what is going to happen because that motion to table would require, it's the main motion now. So you act upon that. Is there a second to table it?
No, I want to discuss it.
Okay.
Vice
So
Mayor Kerr
and
wants to speak.
it dies for a
so-
lack of a second then,
Yeah.
and now we're back to the main discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Whether the grant specifically states it or not, we have to assume, or I assume, that that was the intent. It was for the fire department. So do we want to spend time, whether we need to spend time going through the documents to see if it's legal or it's not legal? I don't think that that is part of the discussion here tonight. I believe that that small gymnasium should be dedicated to the firefighters. I don't see any need to open it up and create more of a burden on your department to monitor it. The liability of someone getting hurt. There's just too many open-ended questions. In my opinion, it should be just shot down and not tabled. It should be voted on and just discouraged. It's been brought to the commission, prior commissions multiple times. You stated that, and it's been shot down every time. And I'm assuming for very valid reasons, many of which I may have mentioned. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, we had talked about this at the workshop and it appeared that everyone was no, and not everyone was not in agreement. Okay. However, we were waiting for the decision grant wise with the specific language, whether we could do it or not. So.
I don't recall it that way.
Okay.
I mean, I agree. So we've talked about this when it first came. I remember the very first meeting we discussed it. And I had a different opinion than what I have now because I didn't have all the facts. And I've been in that gym. It is not a LA Fitness. It's not a rec center gym like what they have at Seminole or St. Pete. It is, to me, I would call it a bodybuilder's gym. It's about going in and building muscles. It's not a cardio. It's a gym that has equipment that if you don't know how to properly use it, and we're not going to have anyone there full time, I so just think that, and I can't get around the idea that our fire department got, the grant was for the fire department to have equipment so that they could work out and do what they need to do. And I don't feel like our fire department should have to work around any of us to be able to work out. I think that, and I still don't have a good, clear explanation on how you do that. I don't really think you can because they have hours that they work out, which is what they've told us. And if they get a call, they go to that call. And then they come back and they might work out. So their plan might be that they're going to work out from 9 to 11 or whatever it is, certain days, but life happens and their job comes first, although their fitness is very important. So I don't feel like I could vote for that, even though I know that there are some residents, a handful who have reached out on it. I don't think that I could vote for opening it up to the public. Number one, we have it in our packet, the expense just to get it open of what we'd have to spend to make it for the public, the continuing cost of maintenance of equipment. If something breaks, there's not a grant to replace it. We've opened it. Now the city's going to be responsible to replace it because it truly belongs to the fire department.
I mean, if I can just add, I would guarantee that as soon as it's open, the next thing is going to be a request for different equipment or additional equipment. It's just going to be it's just going to be an expense that continues to grow over time. The chief would want anything for the city, but I truly feel in his heart that we're impeding upon his use with his men in that gym yeah, they may have scheduled between 9 and 11,
And women.
men and women. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But he should be allowed that flexibility. So,
And it's it's small. It's not like it's big inside.
I've had residents that also spoke out that they want to use that gym. And they, Commissioner Taglerini also said, the quality of life for Madeira Beach residents. I believe that they should be allowed to use that gym. We talked about a $10 a month cover for each resident. We talked about an access code. So if I want to use that gym right now at 9 o'clock tonight, USA Fitness closes. So I'm not getting out of here probably until 8:15, 8:30 I just believe that the citizens of Madeira Beach should be allowed to use that gym at the rate we talked about before, $10 a month.
So if we want a gym for the residents, it seems to me that a exercise could be completed in looking at our surrounding gyms that are their rec center gyms and looking more in the line of creating something like that, as opposed to opening up our fire department's gym. I don't know, but I just think that it's not a gym like a gym. It's not, that's not what it is. And it's going to be very costly for the city to open it up to the public.
is your suggestion that the city staff were to go to some local gyms and try to get a city rate? If you're a Madeira Beach resident, you get a lower rate.
I mean, it's pretty inexpensive to go to Seminole, to their rec center. And I'm not saying that we have to, because I think that the people who would like to use the gym want to use it Madeira Beach. They want to come to Madeira Beach. I get that. But if the desire of the residents is to have a rec center type gym, which similar to St. Pete or Seminole, then my opinion would be we'd be better suited to talk about whether or not that's a possibility for our residents. That gym is not a general public gym. It's a dedicated gym for the fire department. And I have a hard time thinking we should take it away from them. I don't really know what the couple of people that I've heard from, I don't know exactly what they're looking for in a gym. I don't know that they've been in there and seen what it is, or if they've just heard that we have a gym and they're not allowed to use it. I don't know, because that feedback hasn't come to understand what the real want is. But I think we'd be better. I have a hard time taking it from the fire department.
Well,
It's theirs. They paid for it. They got it. It wasn't a grant for the public to have a gym. It was for them to have a gym.
And I can understand that, but you have to keep in mind, this was grant money that was used. So really, the fire department's not out anything. And I do believe Jay had a plan talking with the fire chief that there were going to be restricted hours. So I understand the liability issues. That's why there's waivers. So those are my 2 cents. Thank you.
and also I believe, look, who am I to tell a resident, okay, you can't use the gym because it's only for a certain type of people that exercise a certain type of way. If I want to play a game of tennis with a friend and go over and use the gym after, it's very convenient instead of hopping in my car. I got to drive, through the traffic. Like I said before, I stand that Madeira Beach residents should be allowed to use it.
They can't use the other facility. They can't use any of the other rooms within the city hall. Why is that one special?
Well,
Because it has exercise equipment
Yeah.
that they're a taxpayer and we're looking at quality of life.
Taxpayer didn't pay for it.
it
But
was
they're
a
a
grant.
taxpayer and they paid for the building.
It was a
And at
grant.
$10 a month, that's going
But
to be able to.
$10 a month isn't going to pay nearly not 1/100% of the cost that's associated with this from all the other residents that are gonna have to pay, so that a few, it's an expense to all, so that a few would benefit. Again, at the expense of our firefighters. I think this is a mistake. I'm only one vote. I think it's a mistake. It's gonna be additional burden on Parks and Recreation to monitor it, to clean it, to regulate access to it. Someone gets hurt, that'll be the next thing.
I just see every single apartment complex out there has a gym
Right, so why do we need one here at the city?
because we don't live in an apartment complex. People that live in Madeira Beach, we're responsible enough to work out. I mean, plus if people are like me, I'll join, but I'm only going to use it a few times, 6 months. But we have to give the Madeira Beach residents an option to join. I think that's where I stand.
Well, I made my point clear, I think, before. A lot of the problems Commissioner Kerr has said, it's cleaned already. There's waivers for accidents. There can be hours. We're not taking it from the firemen. We're using it with them. And to Commissioner Brooks's point, most, and I'm gonna step out on a limb and say most of our residents are gonna take one look at it and say, no, this isn't the kind of gym I want to work out in. And so,
Okay, so you understand the amount of money we're gonna spend to be able to have most of the residents say, I don't want to work out here. It's not for me. I mean, we don't even know what the cost of the cameras are yet. I mean, it is quite an expense to go out and spend for.
right, well, this is an estimate and we haven't agreed, we need all these things. All right, keypad waiver, it's already cleaned. Yeah, there's gonna be some expenses. I feel that a trial is not gonna hurt anything. And I would be the first one if Chief Belt came back and said, this isn't working out for us. I'll be the first one to say, this isn't working out.
And here's one more space that's, if you don't have the cameras, it's unmonitored, that I think it's a safety issue. It's just an unmonitored space that, I mean, what would the hours be? We're talking about going in there at 9 o'clock at night. Nobody's gonna be around to monitor things at 9 o'clock at night. Parks and Recreation aren't on staff at 9 o'clock at night. So who's gonna be going in there? And who are they gonna go in there with? And is it just workout that's gonna be done in there? We're opening ourselves up for liability for the benefit of a very, very few people. I don't see this as I haven't ever had one resident reach out and say, man, I really want to go to that gym.
I have
One?
more than one.
Okay. Well, you know how I stand.
Any other commissioner comments?
Jay, do you have any idea how much the camera system is going to cost?
Not off the top of my head. We do have one camera that points at the door. There's nothing internal. That's.
So we're talking about adding one camera.
No. There is one camera currently that points at the access door.
Yeah, but if we
From the
needed one
outside.
inside, it would be adding one camera to an existing system?
We would have to ensure, well, I don't even know. I don't know. If I were to assume anything, I could, be completely wrong. I mean,
Okay.
if we put one camera in there, is there a blind spot? We put 2 cameras to ensure there's a lot of different,
You'd have to speak with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office and get their recommendations. Who's going to monitor it?
Well, staff, according to the memo, staff recommends a trial period from open until December 31st, 2023. I would be in favor of that
Yeah.
trial period.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move that we take the staff's recommendation to open the gym to residents only, trial period from December 31st 2023. Until December 31st, 2023, just like the parking lot.
I second that.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
No.
Commissioner Brooks,
No.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 3-2.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is item 11, contracts and agreements, letter A, Alpha Gulf Beaches Public Library Service Contract.
Mayor and Commission, this is our annual agreement with the Gulf Beaches Library, the interlocal agreement. It essentially is stipulating what the amount that we will pay in fiscal 24 for the library services, the city's portion. We are one of 5 cities that fund the Gulf Beaches Library in addition to Treasure Island, Reddington Beach, North Reddington Beach, and Reddington Shores. The commission already approved the Gulf Beaches Library budget in a prior meeting. This is just the service contract for fiscal 2024.
Okay, so we need to take no action on this then.
You need to approve the agreement.
We
this
need to
service
approve this agreement.
Yes.
All right. Commissioners, do we have any comments? Oh, let me back up. Citizens, do we have any comments? Okay, commissioners,
I move sorry, are we still discussing?
we can, yes,
I'm
we
sorry.
are.
Sorry, I thought we discussed it.
Commissioners, we have any other comments?
No comment.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
I move we approve fiscal year 24 library service contract.
I second it.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, thank you. Next item up would be letter B, Bravo, approve Pinellas Public Library Cooperative Renewal Agreement.
So Mayor and Commission, this is the Pinellas Public Library Cooperative agreement. The cooperative is asking they asked all 14 member libraries in all of their cities that participate to approve an extension of a cooperative agreement, a 5-year extension that would put us through 2028. The agreement essentially allows for sharing of resources, materials, applying for grants, a variety of different just library services. I think most people maybe who utilize public libraries in our county or who have maybe anybody used any, you can order an item and it might be coming from the Countryside Library in Clearwater or the St. Pete Library, and the Public Library Cooperative then arranges to have that item delivered here if this is where you requested it. So anyway, their board requested that we approve this. There are no changes to the agreement. It's simply they are requesting that we approve this 5-year agreement renewal.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this?
One final comment, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Please.
We do not directly pay for this service. We do fund the Gulf Beaches Library, but all the library systems, all 14 then participate in this cooperative agreement.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any comments on this? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Pinellas Public Library Cooperative Renewal Agreement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. City Clerk, we call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, thank you. Item C, Charlie, Facility Use Contract, Spring Games LLC.
Again, Mayor and Commissioner, we discussed this at the workshop. This is a 1-year agreement with the organization called the Spring Games LLC to host college softball games in February and March of 2025. 24 here at our 3 softball fields here at Rock Park. The agreement includes the responsibilities on both parties, including covering some of the, or covering costs that the Spring Games organization will incur and some of the costs that we incur. We are reimbursed by Visit St. Pete Clearwater, $5,000, I believe, each weekend for the maintenance of our fields.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this? Please come up and talk to us. Commissioners? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with negotiating proposed contract with the Spring Games LLC.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
This is actually to approve.
I'm
the
sorry,
agreement, not to negotiate it. It's to
To
approve it.
approve it, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I was reading from the recommendation section. So, okay, I make a motion to approve it, the Spring Games contract.
Thank you. Thank you. That was,
I second.
all right. Thank you very much.
Sorry about the typo.
That's okay. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini.
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, next item is new business, employer contribution to health and dental premium.
Again, Mayor and Commission, as we had previously discussed, our insurance company is requesting that we approve a resolution to support that we will include in our fiscal 24 budget, that the city will include in our budget to cover 50% of the cost of the premium for health and dental insurance for any employees opting to add any dependents to their coverage. So the resolution is enclosed. And I think resolution.
Ready for me to read that, Mayor?
Please.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is resolution 2023-09, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, increasing the City of Madeira Beach's monthly medical and dental premium contribution on behalf of employees to include contributing 50% of the health and dental premium associated with the employee's spouse, child, or family, and providing for an effective date. That was reading resolution 2023-09 by title only.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions? I'm assuming no citizen comment. I don't see anybody jumping up here. I just think it's the right thing to do. I cannot believe, even in a small city like us, that we don't have dependent health care for our employees. How do we attract and keep our excellent employees without throwing them a bone? And this is a necessity. And those are the only comments I have.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-09, employer contribution to health and dental premium.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, thank you. Next item up is B Bravo under item 12. It's commission prior issues on developments litigation.
I'm just as a request, you had requested that we, perhaps if there are any questions from the commission regarding any of the emails that are listed, or I believe we have provided some information to the commission, including to some of the requesters that submitted a public records request. We provided the information. So really, any questions that you may have, or I would be happy to answer that. I just want to state that a couple of these items do have pending litigation. So we cannot and will not speak about any items that have any pending litigation. Specifically, the first item in the agenda, the representation item, there is currently pending litigation regarding that item. And one other, I don't know, Tom, if there was another one, but specific to litigation, I think that's the only current one.
I think so.
But if there were any questions on it, would be, again, we've provided significant information. I do want to state for some of these in the last year, so prior to the mayor and the new commissioners, we did have one-on-ones with the commission to explain, particularly the first one, the representation. We have not had those one-on-ones with the mayor and the two new, so we would be happy to do that if you, or with all five. Again, there really haven't been any changes other than it is a pending legal matter. So would feel the best way to do that, if you do have any questions, would be to do that one-on-one, just as we did a year ago, or a little over a year ago.
Absolutely. The only question I had is, our city attorney sent us all an email about the PD zoning. And to read the email and all of the attachments, I had trouble finding the answer to the question. And I think the question was, in PD zoning, I know the height can change, but can the front, side, and rear setbacks change? I don't think the document, maybe it's in there somewhere. I couldn't find it.
I think
It is in there.
it's in there, and
Is, okay.
it does allow for, if you want to go.
So the end of the email, the last line,
Is it in our packet?
no, it is not.
No, it was an email sent to all of you.
Okay, all right.
So the last line of the email that I sent you. Based upon the above analysis, it is my opinion that the statement made by the Community Development Director, Rowan, regarding the BOC's authority in considering the heights of structures / buildings and setbacks in the PD approval process was accurate.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. I don't see it, but that's okay. But I have to ask, and I'm not trying to do anything bizarre here. Why is it you're writing it's your opinion? Isn't it either fact that that's the law and ordinances, or are we talking legal opinion? I think this is where we're getting in the most trouble, is we're citing opinions. I was looking for the facts in there.
The facts are in the email.
Okay,
The facts specifically underline the sections of your current code sections that provide for it. Specifically, that was referenced was the section dealing with proposed, current and proposed setbacks. That alone gives you the understanding that they're going to be coming in, they're going to be saying, these are the current setbacks, these are the ones we propose for the purposes of negotiating this PD development. So you've got to understand big picture what we're doing. When you rezone something, you're basically picking up whatever that zoning category is and you're setting it on that piece of property. You're not setting it on the piece of property and then saying, oh, and by the way, let's take into consideration all the other things that were in the prior zoning category, and we're going to include those too. Well, no, when you change zoning, either from R1 to R2 or from commercial to residential or industrial to commercial, it has nothing to do with what the prior or underlying zoning is. And that's the whole purpose of a plan development, is the flexibility of deciding you've got this huge piece of property and you get to decide what you want on it. Building spatiality, setbacks, heights, design, architecture, landscaping, lighting. I mean, you name it, you're in control of that. And so if you don't like the fact that the building is 20 feet back from the street, well, then you're going to tell the developer that, and they're going to have to come up with a plan that is acceptable. So that's the negotiation process. But that's why you have the flexibility of a PD, is to make sure that whatever it is you're going to put there is going to be based upon the site plan that has been approved by the 5 of you. And that site plan lays out buildings, setbacks, heights, parking, you name the things that I just went through. So.
thank you. That was a perfect explanation. It cleared things right up. Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask, Attorney Trask, can I get the date of the email so that just in case somebody asks me for it?
Absolutely.
if somebody, I mean, we have the email, so if.
I
they
just
are
need to
asked-
know the one.
I just want to be clear also that just to the five of you, and I think anybody else that's listening or will watch this, we receive here at the city literally every day, hundreds of communications. The majority of them are via electronic mail or email. Not all of those are kept at the city clerk. The city clerk does not have all of those, nor does she or whoever the clerk might be in any city have them all ready and willing to provide. We, by Florida statute, everything we do is a public record. Upon request, we will provide it. But I want to be clear, as the custodian of public records, that does not mean, what it does not mean is that our clerk has every single document at that time. But certainly, like any of us, has the ability, or anybody in the world has the ability to request it, and it will be provided. I want it because I've heard from residents, well, the clerk doesn't have it. That's a violation of Florida statutes. Unless Florida law says something different, that is not how it works. It is not neither reasonable nor practical that any clerk in any city has every document that is generated. They have access to every document. We have multiple software where documents are created, from email to obviously Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, photos, videos, etc. And every department creates documents and records, and they are stored by the city. So just to clarify, and we will provide documents when requested. We are not hiding it. We want to be transparent, accountable. That is why we are here. We're not hiding anything. If anybody wants to know how much an employee is paid, if anybody wants to know, the emails that I sent out 2 months ago, those are all available. We're not hiding. We don't exist. I'm not here to hide documents or do anything. That we do have some residents and non-residents who give significant indication that is what's happening. That is not what is happening. I cannot speak for the past, but I can speak for the present and going into the future, that we are about transparency, accountability, and promoting good government. That I would not be here otherwise. The five of you would have gotten rid of me if I was not advocating that every day, and the rest of the city staff. We do want to provide the best possible services, and keep in mind that not everybody will agree with the decisions that we make, but we are doing it in the best interest of every resident in our city, and of course, our businesses and our visitors. But any questions for anything that we do, please feel free to ask. You may text, email, come in person. I haven't had anybody come up yet to our lobby and look over and see a document and say, may I see that document? We can provide that document as long as it's not exempt from public record under Florida statutes, but that's what we will do.
Correct, that is correct. We have to monitor everything that we have for exempt. Want to
Yes.
just put it out there.
Thank you for that explanation. I think you've covered it from A to Z. Great
Thank
job.
you.
So I have a couple things I'd like to say. One, our last meeting, when the emails got read, clearly, I did not appreciate them being read. Mostly because, well, not mostly, because we knew that there was information in them that the city manager had already provided us information on. And I would I want to ask one thing to be clarified, but I'd like to ask the mayor, the vice mayor, and commissioners, when we receive emails from a resident and they are making bold accusations against our city attorney, our city manager, our finance director, our parking department, our rec center, whatever it is, the city clerk, it could be anyone, because we have such a good open dialogue with the attorney, with the city manager. It is on us to pick the phone up and make an appointment or come and talk to them. I said this before and I stand by it. I have never asked Robin or Attorney Trask anything that they did not give me an answer and proof, backup, or where I could go find it. So these emails that we're going to talk about, there were a lot of things in them that just didn't ring true after sitting in many meetings for almost 9 years, serving the city as a volunteer. But one of the things that really struck me in these emails, and because it's become a real hot button item in emails we've received since, is the $70,000 impact fee waiver that was given to the developer. So just so we're all clear here, there were no impact fees for Madeira Beach until like a year ago. We voted for that on the Planning Commission. The city of Madeira Beach doesn't collect impact fees until recently. This development that was approved in 2016, there were no impact fees collected for the city of Madeira Beach on that development. Those impact fees are what are called transportation impact fees to the county. Madeira Beach didn't do anything. Those county money. And that's impact fees for transportation. Robin, you correct me if I'm wrong. That is for improvements to be made on the property by the developer in relation to transportation. The $70,000 that Mr. Weiss spoke about in his email was I'll call it a credit. I'm probably using the wrong word, but a credit for improvements that had already been completed on the property. So nobody did anything wrong. But if you read that email, and when you read that email, Mayor, out loud, you read that email without asking it about it. And there's a whole host of people in our community who believe they've been lied to, that Attorney Trask did something wrong and illegal, that the city did something wrong. And all I'm saying is, it wouldn't have taken 15 minutes to pick up the phone and call Robin and say, Robin, what is that about? Can we talk about that before you put it out there to the world? And I want to believe that your intent was good, but I think we should be mindful of taking at face value every opinion that comes in an email. I read every email. I care what every resident has to say. Whether it is the way I feel or not, I still care what they say. But we get the same emailers who everything is negative and it is slamming, and those all emails we receive, we should want to find the root of it, the truth, not the opinion, not my opinion, not your opinion, not their opinion, the facts. And these two gentlemen, they are not who we say to when they tell us something, I'll take that under advisement. They are our advisors. Tom Trask is a well-respected attorney.
Can we stay on point?
We are. That is
Okay.
it. There are some people who don't like him. Please be mindful in your elected position to not accuse or to believe everything you read, but to investigate it prior.
Commissioner Brooks, that's enough. Keep in mind, the email I read was Mr. Douthert, and he provided the evidence to substantiate his claim.
You read Mr. Weiss's email.
And Douthert, who had the same information in it, and he provided the information with it in attachments.
You wouldn't read ex-vice mayor
Look at, we're getting there.
Doug's,
We're
and
getting,
he asked you to read it.
that
He
was nothing.
specifically asked you to read.
That's enough.
You do not get to tell me to
Excuse
stop.
me. Well, I
No,
just did.
sir. No,
You're out of order.
no, I'm not. We're
Yes, you
having
are.
a discussion. So my opinion doesn't matter, only yours.
I didn't say that.
That is what you said.
You're off topic.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
We're
you are.
talking about the emails and
Okay.
reading them out loud.
And as I clarified with the commission, the email from Mr. Douthert did have erroneous information. And that's what I clarified to all 5 of you. So please keep that in mind. I agree. If we are going to do what has happened, that we do go through the process to verify and confirm, that is only fair for myself and the rest of the city staff to do that. So please just take, that would be my request of all five of you, just as the commissioner said, and I think all of you do that. But just keep that in mind because they don't have all of the information and clearly some of these just did not have accurate information.
Any other comments?
I believe Mr. Douthert apologized in a follow-up email.
I haven't, that's the only one that I received
I thought
from him.
that's my recollection.
Just regarding the emails, it's hard. It's hard. John Douthat was a former commissioner for a couple of terms. I've met him a couple of times. I wanted to know the answers and he had copied Mr. Gomez on it. Mr. Gomez copied or corrected the error. I was curious to know. I feel like I've gotten a better understanding today with Mr. Trask's explanations. But when I say thanks to the people who do send us emails, because at least it makes us aware of another point of view. Many of the emails I get are clearly uninformed. I think, I'm relatively new to this. I'm on this board for a year, but I can usually tell the difference between something that they don't understand it and I try to explain it. But I'm glad that things are brought to my attention and I do contact Mr. Gomez and on occasion I've contacted Mr. Trask. So I understand the mayor's concern with trying to get answers. I want answers too. And it's not easy for me to always contact Mr. Gomez. Can you meet me? Can you meet me? Can you meet me? I would be in his office every day. And he always responds to his credit. I've never sent Mr. Gomez an email that he didn't respond to. All right, but sometimes I know these other things on his plate. So I'd rather than demonize, I will go out on a limb and say this. Mr. Douthat's email came from a former commissioner. Maybe it had errors. We got some answers today and we got some answers earlier. I understand that former Vice Mayor Andrews certainly was a former commissioner. The things that he brought up in his email weren't anywhere on our agenda. And I felt like they were personal. I felt like they were personal. And I think it's the mayor's prerogative, whether or not, and we've all read them. We all know what it's about. And honestly, Mr. Andrews is in a position of advantage with the situation he's talking about. So I wish Mr. Andrews had come so that we could get more detail into it. So I don't want to demonize each other for being concerned about emails. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but the emails are difficult to process at times.
All I'm saying is that when you take an email and you sit up here and read it as a fact into the record, and residents then believe that those are facts, and they weren't. And there were many things that weren't, which has created distrust. And, I don't believe that we have a city government that we should distrust, and I don't believe that we should foster it. And I'm not demonizing anyone. All I was saying is that $75,000 or 70,000, how many emails did we get from people that are appalled? And it's not based or rooted in any fact whatsoever. So again, my only request was, please do the due diligence before you're going to sit up here and attack. And they both were attacked in the last meeting, verbally.
I know about being attacked.
Yeah.
I was attacked on this board for the first year of my commission.
I can't speak to that.
I can,
only
and I'm
speak
telling
to
you,
us
I know what
now.
it's like to be attacked. And I am totally against it. So when we talk about being bullied, every other day I wanted to quit this board because of the way I was bullied. So
can't-
I know you can't speak to it and you had nothing to do with it. But those letters, those weren't bullies. Those weren't bully letters to these gentlemen. These gentlemen can certainly defend themselves. I just saying emails from residents have to be considered.
I'm not,
And they have to be considered depend also based on who they are.
I'm not saying that emails from residents should not be considered. Please do not take that. And that is not what I said. I've never said that residents shouldn't be heard and that we shouldn't consider. When I served on the planning commission, we would receive emails 5 minutes before a meeting. And I'd print them out and take them home and sit down and go and read to figure out what was based in truth and fact and what wasn't. All I'm saying is, if we are going to believe the emails without rooting them in fact, we are creating a distrust in the community, because then the community believes what we read up here to be the facts. And when it's not, it's a lot harder to tell somebody it's not true once you've read it, or it's not factual. That's all I'm saying.
Understood. We should always seek to understand.
We should, and we should not speak here without affording the benefit of
Without
doubt or
Understood
gathering the
Understood.
information.
and agreed.
Any other comments? All right, next up is staff reports. And then we have no staff reports?
No.
Oh, okay. Agenda setting for the workshop. We have letter A, alpha interviews with the 2 law firms that responded to RFQ 23-08, city attorney, Treyas Stagano, LLP, and Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Cole, and Bierman, PL.
Is there any way that we could just do the interviews? Or is that, I mean, you think that's not going to take enough time?
So I have a question on what Vice Mayor Kerr asked. Is it possible for us to know the 91 law firms?
Oh,
Is there a report for that?
Yes, we do. And I will forward that to you. And that is, hold on. Data that's exported directly from Demand Star. So Demand Star tracks those firms that actually, I guess Megan inquired on. There were 91 inquiries into, but you have the same firm, and I will email this to all of you. It's a spreadsheet, but you had multiple people from the same firm that apparently inquired. Is that the right term, Megan?
So the way that Demand Star works is whenever you advertise a bid, you then pick the different categories. So different firms and or contractors can submit towards multiple different categories. So with this, I believe the category was selected. I don't know exactly what it is, but it then populates a list and it sends directly to every single one of those registered in that category. So with the list, the report that I sent to Robin that he will send out to you all, it lists out every specific firm, and there are multiple people per firm. So I guess it just depends on the size, but there's also, it shows which ones downloaded. So there is a list.
Yeah, the list of those that apparently 11 plan holders.
Yes.
Those that downloaded the RFQ, there are 11. And I can just quickly, Alvin K. Brown, PA, Bryant Miller, Olive, PA, Christian Waugh, PA, Dodge Data, S-Time and Irvin Associates, Gray Robinson, PA, Neighbors Gibbling and Nickerson, PA, Onvia Inc., Pittman Law Group, Taylor English Duma LLP, Weiss Serrata Helfman. Those were the 11 that, according to Demand Star, are listed as plan holders, which
And
means
goes
that
as far as Washington. So it wasn't that it was just here in Florida. So that just shows the broad range of firms that it did reach out to.
So Robin, I have a question. In other municipalities, when they go out to RFQ, do they post differently than what we did?
I'm pretty certain and just recalling all the years in a prior city here in Florida, they're mainly, the main listing is your website.
Right.
And then, I mean, depending on the industry, yes. I mean, I can tell you have some where they went to professional organizations, but I was not familiar with Demand Star until I came
Came
back
here.
to Florida in December of 21. But it sounds like it's a very well utilized website. The city of Oldsmar, for example, if you go to their procurement and look at their bids and RFPs, RFQs, it's only Demand Star. That's what pops up on their website. And that's where all of their RFPs, RFQs are listed. So it just depends, but I mean, the website is really the biggest one and specific trade. I mean, in this case, for an RFQ for legal, yeah, like I said already before, it could have sent it to the Florida bar. And they would have done whatever with it, but it is the Florida bar. I don't even know if they have something on their website or something that they promote or advertise. Hey, these are, open RFPs, RFQs. I can tell you a lot of the professional organizations advertise more when there are open positions, but I do recall years ago, like the for Professional Society for Human Resources, they would list open RFPs if it came to their knowledge. And so some professional organizations do that.
So it's my understanding that there's probably hundreds of legal firms in the Tampa area, but they're only, I would say they're like doctors. You have pediatricians, you have heart specialists, you have whatever. So you have a specialist in your field. I'm curious, do we know how many in the area actually do municipal law? Do we have any feel for that at all? Would Demand Star have any feel for that at all?
I mean, that we could just research that, but I'm sure there are multiple firms that do specialize in that, and I'm sure Tom may be able to.
Mr. Trask, would you know?
There's like 4 or 5.
Okay. That's kind of the point. I wasn't making a point. I was really asking a valid question. So I don't want the general public to believe that if we go down the road to try to get more, that, we're really missing so many that do municipal law. I mean, it's a specialty. So I'm very anxious to see out of the 90 or 91 or how many, if we can kind of see in the area, we can drill down on that and see if 2 or 3 others just decided that do municipal law in the area that just decided not to offer an RFQ. I would be curious. So thank you for that.
Any other comments on this?
So sorry, Mayor, originally my comment was that this might be an important and lengthy discussion. Do we want to consider only putting that on the agenda, or if everybody thinks we can get through everything, that's fine. I just thought I might bring it up.
Well, I mean, I've got a stack of emails here of people, please asking to put it back out. I do believe the commissioners were all sent a bunch of emails in regards to that.
So I don't know that we really touched on, so that the residents will now know, how many people did download the application? How many law firms there are locally that qualify to even submit for this RFQ?
And then the other question is how many of them don't even know about Demand Star, that they're looking for this job in another location, of which I don't know what those locations would be.
So that's why I asked the question
Yes.
of the city manager. And I would agree with Robin. And somebody said it, I don't remember who said it in our last meeting, that typically they get posted on the city website. Typically, law firms are looking for cities that they want to work for to have the RFQs come up. I understand that there are people who think we didn't get it out there. I'd love for them to understand that 11 firms downloaded it. I'm going to dissect that to see of the 91 that found it or got it, how many law firms out of the 91 were there? There were multiple people. So this didn't just go out to a handful of law firms. I mean, it went out and there were a lot of people that looked at it. And for whatever reason that they didn't decide to apply, and I stand by what I said in the past. In the past, when we have voted to place people on committees or planning commissions and the Civil Service Commission, we did not say, we're going to put it back out because we don't like the pool we got. We haven't even interviewed, and I do feel this, we haven't even interviewed the 2 law firms. So we don't, say what you will, but the Trask Law Firm, they deserve to have their interview. The other law firm, they deserve to have their interview. They put forth the work, they put forth the effort. After we interview, if there is a consensus that we need more, okay, we can walk down, I can walk down that road, but you're not even giving them the opportunity. And I'm not going to hold Mr. Trask or his firm accountable for not talking about something that's still under litigation in the public. So I can't go down that road with being angry at him because of that, because he wouldn't talk about any litigation here. And I think it's important for us that we know that, to tell that to our constituents, to let the residents understand that that would be why someone wouldn't answer. But to say we're not going to interview him is just saying.
In case I wasn't clear, I wasn't suggesting that we not interview. I was saying that that's all we do is interview these 2 firms.
I think that's all we ever said we were going to do.
Well, there's 3 other items on the agenda.
Oh, you mean for that particular meeting
I'm sorry,
day
I
to
wasn't clear.
only do
I
that
think it's
one
an
item?
important item. I think I'm already preparing questions. I think that's enough for a workshop. That's all I'm suggesting. I wasn't suggesting anything else. That I'm suggesting that we only do that.
Oh, just the one item. Okay.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
No, gotcha. I got it. Thank you.
Well, I think the mayor was suggesting that we go back out is where that came from, but thank you, thank you.
What are the other
Commissioner.
items on the agenda? What are the other 2 items that are on?
3
there?
items, there's,
It's 4.
there's 4 items total on the agenda setting.
And I'm sorry,
Oh.
I think amendment to the ALS may come off because the county is waiting. They wanted all cities to proceed before we approved it. I guess we were ahead of what the county was
And
looking for.
I can see that the smoking vaping discussion
That can be
could
at
be
any
lengthy
time.
and it certainly is not
Yeah.
time.
No,
not a time
the,
crunch on that.
and the engineer of record, I think we wanted to get them by January on board, so we could move it to September, but it,
I mean, if D is
Not
super important, yes, let's leave it on, but if there's something that can wait, I'd like to reserve the workshop for, this is an important item, an important
we can just
item.
have A and D.
Robin, we were also going to include the Clarion renewal.
or Clarion.
Okay, then.
That was I mean, we were talking about the agenda setting, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
right.
But it looks like the amendment, the ALS first responder agreement is possibly going to come off. All right, so then, and now we're up to, because we don't have to vote on any of that. Reports and correspondence, Board of Commissioners, does anybody have anything? Board of Commissioners, we have anything to report?
Mm-mm.
Okay. City Attorney,
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
thank you. City Manager.
Just a reminder, Saturday, Everyone's invited to come to the Holiday Isles Elks for breakfast with the city manager, 10 a.m., the Holiday Isles Elks Club. And our next budget work session will be on Wednesday, the 23rd of August at 4 p.m.
Thank you. City Clerk, do you have anything?
Last year, and I appreciate it, the Board of Commissioners approved, allowed me to purchase laserfish. And Laura and I have been working real hard on that, and it's gonna be a public portal for where we will be putting our public records. And of course, anything that needs to be redacted will be up there ahead of time, so I won't have to worry about that. If I should get a notice from the city attorney that something should go into litigation, then we'll, redact that or pull that off. It's a website that, it's a program that we can actually monitor and be more careful about the documents that people search for on our website. And so that's the most important thing is abiding by Florida statute. And so we're hoping to have that up. We're already starting to put documents in it. And we're still training. We're really excited about it. So hopefully we'll have it all going before the end of the year. And then what I want to do is come to a workshop just for a little presentation and show you all how, and the public, how to use it, how to use the public portal.
So they'll have remote access to our public records.
Yeah. Have a
Nice.
lot in there. It'll be our contracts, our agreements, reports, budget, in one spot. Right now, well, we have a temporary public portal that we do have a lot of our documents in. And it's got a limited space, but this is, the cloud is bigger and we can put everything in one spot. And then you'll be able to key in what type of documents you're looking for, and everything will come up under that, my understanding. So it's going to be exciting. And I'm going to try to get one of the representatives with the company that'll do the little demo at the workshop. And that way, if you have any questions, they can answer.
Very nice report. Thank you.
But thank you for allowing me to do that. And hopefully it'll be what we're looking for and it works out. Like I said, always down the road, we can always change it, but hopefully this is a permanent one.
Great. Are there any other comments from anybody? All right, time is 8:38. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.